as Canada's most ambitious and comprehensive agreement ever. This is not just a good deal, it's an historic deal.
A historic deal. That's Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird today promoting Canada's new trade agreement with the European Union. The Prime Minister, as you know, signed the agreement last week, the agreement in principle anyway, just days after the speech from the throne. Did the weight of the deal sink in for Canadians? Did the throne speech capture their attention? And what could today's new revelations on the Wright-Duffy deal mean for all of this? It's time for Political Traction with Jamie Watt. Joining me now from Toronto is Jamie Watt, Executive Chairman of Navigator Limited. Good to see you, Jamie.
Good to see you, Rosie.
Okay, speech from the throne. Still gaining traction, running out of steam.
Well, you know, last week we predicted what we were going to talk about. We got two of them right, but we got one of them wrong, which we'll show you in a moment. In terms of speech from the throne, about as we expected. We got lots of traction within the Ottawa conversation. Across Canada, not so much. Ottawa loves this kind of thing, sort of an insider's guide. You know, what was behind the Prime Minister's strategy? How will the opposition respond? You know, all the ins and outs, the ups and downs. But across the country, not so much. This 24 is actually really represents a massive interest on one day with a little bit of interest the following day. But other than Wednesday and Thursday, Canadians had lots of other things to think and talk about.
Gosh, I try and sell it, Jamie. I tell you, I just can't get people engaged. Okay.
Well, you know, also what we see is the government over the year has a number of different tools to use to get its message across. And one thing this shows is the speech from the throne is anemic compared to a budget.
Okay, so what else is on the traction radar?
Well, the other one that was surprising, of course, was the Aboriginal First Nations protests in New Brunswick. You can see from the pictures behind me that it's really the tactics that are driving this discussion, not the policy issues themselves. When Canadians see police cars being burnt, they have a very hard time moving beyond that. So Ottawa, not onto the conversation yet, but those very powerful images on our television screens and in our newspapers over the last few days have really got people's attention. The problem for the protesters is that Canadians are focused on their tactics, not the legitimacy or lack thereof of the issue that they're aggrieved about.
Okay, now to the thing that I guess the Prime Minister would rather everyone be talking about, Canada's EU trade deal in principle last week. What's been the response to that so far, even though there's not a lot of details out there?
Well, you know, no kidding, right? If the speech from the throne didn't do everything the government hoped it would do, CETA was actually very powerful and was very successful for the government. Canadians really have begun to tune into this. We know from other research that Canadians really have become a nation of free traders. Generally speaking, Canadians understand that the more trade opportunities we have, the better we do. So you can see, even though that came in towards the end of the week, you know, Canadians were quite interested in this, and also the Ottawa conversation as well. Now, difference is this conversation in Ottawa is mostly being driven by the people that didn't do so well in the deal, the people that might, and industries that might lose out, whereas this part of the Canadian conversation is focused on the opportunities. Opportunities two ways, opportunities for growth and jobs, and also opportunities for new products in our country.
So why would there be that kind of divide? Like, why would we see sort of similar numbers in Ottawa and the rest of the country?
Well, I think what we're seeing is that the media sometimes focuses on negative things, and Canadians are focusing on opportunities. As they say, they see an opportunity for jobs, and they see opportunity for new products coming to the country, whereas there's lots of people who have been hurt or will be hurt by this, and that's really driving the Ottawa conversation.
Okay, how do the numbers break down?
Well, you know, three different conversations, and they all came out in different, three conversations. They came out in two different ways. Ottawa being very interested in the throne speech, and the rest of the country being very interested in the Canada-EU deal. If we look ahead to next week, and we wonder what we're going to talk about, I think we're probably lots of life left in the Canadian-EU trade agreement story. I think we might be talking about the anti-fracking protests in New Brunswick. We might be talking about some rail safety issues after that disaster, and for sure we're going to be talking about Senator Duffy and the Senate.
Yeah, I think you might be right on that one, Jamie. Okay, appreciate it. That's Traction for this week, and that's Jamie Watt of Navigator Limited. Thanks, Jamie. Talk soon.
Talk soon, Rosie.